Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
Coming up today on the show, we're going to be talking about gays and marriage.
The gays.
Why we talk about gays a lot?
Well, half of the hosts of this show are gay. That's fully 50%.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a 50% gay show, everybody.
Right. And we'll let you guess who.
Which one of us?
The prize for who guesses correct.
And I'm guessing that there have been moments where people who would meet you and I might get that wrong.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither of us is particularly strong one way or the other.
Right.
Upon first meeting.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. I would say if they were, if they watched me trying to set up my washer and dryer, they'd come to a quick conclusion.
You mean trying to set up your washer and dryer by calling me to come over and do it for you?
I don't have the tools. What am I supposed to do?
I know. It's fine. I'm happy to help. Anyway, hey, do you want to get us started?
Yeah. Well, I just love this story so much that it's where I want to start today. This is the story of a preacher in Alabama.
They have one or two of those.
They do have one or two of those. Who just admitted over the pulpit to having had sex with multiple members of the congregation, whilst knowing fully that he also has full-blown AIDS.
Oh my God. Okay, so until that moment, I was like, meh, non-story. You know, it's half of the guys that get into the priesthood do it so that they can fuck somebody.
Yeah. That's the whole point of
right
a power position religion, right?
You look at guys like Joe Smith or Jim Jones or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they may not have started it for the sex, but they clearly saw the benefits that were coming their way.
Hello.
But oh my God, he has AIDS.
Yeah. Yep.
God damn it.
And the story it's an interesting one. So he admits to the congregation that all of this was going on
right
over the pulpit, like I said. And he keeps going, and he apparently God told him it was time to confess.
Oh my God!
To the congregation.
Wait, had he talked to these people that he had sex with first?
I don't know,
because
I don't know.
If not, there's some people in the pews going,
I might have contracted HIV.
That would be the scariest moment of it. That's the worst church ever. That's the worst. There's bad church, and then there's find out you got AIDS from your pastor church.
Yeah. Well, the following week when he got up for his sermon,
what? He gets to continue? That's damn. That's a mea culpa, and then some.
He then continues over the next couple weeks. I think it was 2 more Sundays that they let him continue to get up to the pulpit.
Just because their mouths were still agog, they couldn't even say, "We can't let you do this anymore," because they still were processing. What the fuck did he say?
Yeah. Well, he continued to list his grievous sins.
Oh my!
Including illegal drugs use, and misappropriating church funds.
None of that should come as a surprise to any of these people. What should come what does come? I mean, it's a little surprising that he did it over the pulpit. That's a little surprising.
I don't know.
That's one of those. Hey, buddy, fade into obscurity quickly. That's move to somewhere else, take a new name, and find a new life, sort of thing.
He was their pastor.
No more.
This was his flock. He was tending to them.
Is he legally culpable on that? If you knowingly have unprotected sex with someone, when you are HIV positive,
I don't know what the legalities of that
I
is.
feel like there.
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be illegal if you
Knowing.
then where do you draw the line? I guess if you know you have anything,
And you don't.
the clap.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you can't. I don't know. I mean, you're exposing someone to a deadly virus.
Right. It isn't, crabs here that we're talking about.
Right. Someone's not going to get the downstairs sniffles, if you know what I mean. This is deadly.
Yeah.
So that's not okay.
So yeah, that's where I'm. Here we go. Here's the answer.
Okay.
This is from the Montgomery Police Department.
Oh.
Montgomery, Alabama Police Department. Transmitting a sexually transmitted disease is a Class C misdemeanor.
Oh.
So it is a crime, but it's
just
a Class C misdemeanor.
Although
so maybe you get a ticket?
Yeah, but that's in the.
There's a fine for $200.
But there's a difference between criminal code and a civil lawsuit. Someone could sue him.
Someone could sue
the pants right off of him.
That doesn't seem to be the problem here.
Right, exactly. You don't have to sue him for that. Oh my God. Okay. We are. Yeah. That's a bad man, is what that is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I mean, what would be nice is if anybody in the country took that as any kind of wake-up call. I don't know that they will, but I mean, it's not like every pastor does this, but you have to, but people actually give way too much trust to pastors.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in small churches where it's not like that pastor's got a PhD in theology or whatever. That pastor's just some guy who was good at
He did
talking.
an online correspondence course.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about something that happened a while back. This occurred actually in 20. It began. It began in 2008, and theoretically kind of concluded in 2011,
Okay.
or rather, the initial hearing of this did. We're talking about a man named John Freshwater,
Okay.
who was a middle school teacher, a former science teacher at Mount Vernon Middle School in Mount Vernon, Ohio, and was dismissed by the Board of Education for a few things. I think the official dismissal was he was teaching creationism in a public school.
Okay.
This is a science teacher.
Wow. Okay.
Who was very into his religion, as so many people are in our fine country, to the point where one of the ways that he demonstrated science to one of his students was he had a little Tesla coil thing, and he used it to actually burn a cross onto one of his students' arms.
What?
He burned a cross onto the student's arm,
Like a second-degree burn type thing? Third?
Yeah, I mean,
a burn?
It doesn't look like. Here's a picture of it. It doesn't look like it needs
Okay.
medical attention, but it's very visible.
Yeah. Is it is that the scar situation that we're looking at there, or is that like?
I don't know, but
Wow.
I'll tell you what, that boy's parents were not happy.
Yeah. It could have been a smiley face. It could have been anything.
Right.
It could have been a dot.
And that's the thing. They're saying they were religious.
Yeah.
But they were still like, you can't burn the kid.
No kidding.
You
No
can't
kidding.
burn our child. Well,
Yeah,
so
I guess as an atheist parent, what would you be more incensed about?
all of the everythings. I would be like, okay, but now I get to burn the word atheist into your forehead.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
And then I won't sue you and get you fired and stuff. They sued the school. They actually got $450,000 plus attorney fees.
Good for them.
They need that. Yeah. I mean, the school needs to be protecting children like this. So
Yeah.
So yeah, he was fired not only for that incident, but for regularly apparently teaching Jesus-y stuff in his science class.
Jesus Christ.
And the reason that I'm bringing it up now is because what has happened is he was appealing. He lost a lot. He filed a lawsuit. actually, he's claimed that he was the victim of emotional distress. In terms, he filed a countersuit for the arm thing, but he also was being persecuted. I don't know if you know this. He was being persecuted for his religious beliefs because he wasn't allowed to say them in classes.
Oh my goodness!
The
persecution.
I know,
at its worst, right there.
At its very, very worst.
Insidious.
This thing, he appealed. He lost, and then he appealed again. He took it all the way to the Supreme Court.
What?
And guess what? The Ohio Supreme Court had already ruled. He sent it to the United States Supreme Court,
right. The
SCOTUS.
Yes,
and they said, no, we're not going to take that. So, the Ohio Supreme Court ruling stands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good.
So there you go. The Supreme Court has not taken other cases too, but we'll discuss that later.
Yes, indeed.
All right, go on.
Well, tying into that, I'm going to move right on to a story having to do with a sizable grant, a $1.5 million grant. It's a set of grants to different institutions that totals $1.5 million. That's been awarded to how many seminaries was it? A group of seminaries, 10 U.S. seminaries.
Okay.
And they are they are supposed to use this money to include science in their curriculum.
Oh.
The grant came from the American Association for the Advancement of Science.
Huh.
And it's actually a diverse set of Christian seminaries.
Huh.
Let me see where the list was.
I'm actually fascinated by this.
This is a really interesting idea. And these were groups, these seminaries, I guess, I don't know who contacted whom or whatever, but they were very interested in this concept. Because the idea is that basically what the American Association for the Advancement of Science is trying to do is they're trying to counteract this whole, I guess there was some study that they did where they asked groups of, they found really religious folk, and evangelical Protestants are more than twice as likely than other Americans to say that they would turn to a religious text, a religious leader, or a religious leader if they had a question about science.
Huh.
And so what they want to get some good foundational science into the hands of the pastors and the people who are going to be working with these religious communities, so that they can actually say, well, God may work in this way, or God whatever, or this is how the scientific method works.
Yeah.
Or
this is sneaky.
It's really sneaky, but it's really good.
It's awesome. I'm all for it. Of course I'm all for it.
Let's see. I didn't really list off. So Regent University, School of Divinity.
Okay.
Which includes Pentecostal and Charismatic theology. There's Howard University, School of Divinity, which is a predominantly African American seminary in Washington D.C.
Howard has much more than just a religious school. I didn't even know.
No, they have a School of Divinity.
Yeah, I didn't know that they
university.
had that. There you go.
And then there's the Catholic University of America in Washington D.C.
Huh.
There's the Columbia Theological Seminary in Decatur, Georgia.
And these are all schools that are accepting this grant?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
The Lutheran Theological Seminary at Gettysburg. The Jesuit School of Theology at Santa Clara University.
Nice.
Where's another one that would probably, I'm basically just looking for the ones that have a name of some kind of religious group that tells us a little bit.
Well, I think we get the point. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased about that, actually. That seems really cool.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll have a good effect. Even, you know what? Our minds probably quickly jump to, well, there are going to be some kids that learn about this that eventually turn it into, holy shit, the whole Bible thing is the bullshit part. But even if that doesn't happen, a healthy respect for science is needed in this country. This country doesn't understand science. It doesn't respect science the way it needs to. It doesn't know what science really is or what it's about. So anybody being educated on that, even if they maintain their religious beliefs, great.
Well, here's the problem.
Okay.
Again, according to this survey that they did, 51% of American adults, including 77% of evangelicals, really have little or no confidence in that the universe began 13.8 billion years ago.
Right. Well, you know, I
and
get
36% of overall adults doubt that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. So it's like, so there's these real fundamental problems,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
People who so distrust science that they don't even like that. Well, what's filling the void for them?
Right.
If they don't if they distrust science and they go, well, I don't believe in just these basic simple ideas, right, about the reality of our universe, then the void gets filled with, well, it's 6,000 years old and dinosaurs were mingling with man.
Right.
It becomes Kim Ham's nonsense.
Yeah, and that's a trick. You know, it's that kind of thinking, unfortunately, leads people to distrust science in general, and then they distrust medicine, and then they distrust. I mean, like it just goes on, and suddenly they're doing a master cleanse and doing something with essential oils instead of actually seeking medical attention when they have real problems.
Well, I would like to just talk about the master cleanse for a minute. I had this little hairy little mole.
Stop it.
On the back of my
Just
hand.
stop it.
And I did that little mixture of paprika. No, it's cayenne pepper, honey, lemon, and water. You heavily dilute it. And I drank that for like 30 days. And that little hairy mole went away.
Ladies and gentlemen, Franklin is lying to you. He makes fun of these things as much as I do, and probably a good percentage of our listeners have tried cleanses and whatever. Just don't use it as a medicine. It's not medical.
I think
it won't help you.
There's no problem with like you're feeling a little bogged down and blah blah blah, and you're like you know what? I've been eating like shit. I've been drinking too much. Blah blah blah, and you find some sensible cleanse.
I guess it doesn't really do anything.
It doesn't really do anything,
kind of
but it helps you reset your habits a little bit.
It will do that, and it'll change, and you'll probably like feel some sort of strange euphoria from not eating enough or something. Anyway, there you go. We shouldn't get into that. We don't know jack shit about it. Moving right along. I'm going to go to.
It's never really stopped us before.
No, we're fine with bullshitting. It's not a problem for us. Here's an interesting thing. I'm going to do. I was originally only going to do one thing. I'm going to do 2 updates. On stories that we've already reported. I'll try and make them quick.
Okay.
The first one is. You remember that the FUFRF had recently sued the. I think it was the FUFRF and maybe some other group sued the IRS. Because they were not actually enforcing their own rules about pastors. The idea is that in order for any, and this applies to any nonprofit organization, but in order for any nonprofit organization to maintain their tax-free status here in the United States of America, they cannot advocate any kind of they can't advocate for any specific political candidate. They can talk about issues, but they can't stump for a candidate. And I think that there are some other restrictions as well in terms of meddling in politics. And for years, pastors have been doing this over the pulpit.
Yeah.
And not having any consequences in terms of losing their tax ID status.
Right.
Or tax exempt status, rather. Well, the IRS has promised now, we already reported this, has promised to start cracking down on pastors who do this.
Yeah.
Well,
they find one?
Hopefully it's coming to a head because Pulpit Freedom Sunday, which, we talked about this last year, It's a time when pastors get up on the pulpit and
civil disobedience,
do the
on their part.
do the civil disobedience thing and disobey that rule overtly. They let it be known that they're doing it, and so they're doing it again. Apparently, nearly 1,500 pastors have reportedly agreed.
They need to be all
do it.
brought down. The IRS needs to send out their minions.
Well, I'll tell you what. If they do, there's been a group of legal an activist legal group that is saying that they've got the pastors back.
Oh,
They will take care of it. The Alliance Defending Freedom senior legal counsel Eric Stanley said, "Yeah, we've got your back, Pastor. Stand, preach from your pulpit what God lays on your heart to tell people, and you have the free exercise and free speech right that's enshrined in the First Amendment Constitution to do that."
Oh yeah, sure. All right.
Well, you know what? They do have that right.
They
just don't have the right to do that and then also not pay taxes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
exactly. We need witnesses. We need volunteers.
You're not going to tell our people to go to fucking church, are you? Our listeners, our poor listeners.
No, somebody needs to be going out on that specific Sunday, find the list of the 1,500 signatories or whatever, if such thing even exists. And seriously, like, we need people who can, like...
Oh, I think it's too late. I think it was last Sunday.
Well, fuck.
Anyway.
It was a good idea.
It was a good idea. It's congratulations, all of you listeners. You're off the hook. Anyway, so that's update number 1. I'm going to do update number 2 really quickly, too.
Okay. Ooh.
We reported a while back that Ken Ham's Ark encounter in Kentucky had been awarded an $18.25 million tax incentive
credit thing. Yeah.
For it's earmarked for tourist destinations and that sort of thing.
Yeah. They're bringing people into the state who are going to be leaving tax dollars.
Right. And there was trouble with it because when they posted job descriptions, there was at least one job description was posted in Craigslist and said you must sign a faith form. You must sign a thing that's saying this is a ministry, they said, and so you have to be a person of faith to work with us.
Oh my God.
And this was for like an engineer. Yeah. This was for like
somebody who never even interacts with the public.
Right, exactly.
You're just going to keep the drains working on the flood exhibit.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna make sure that the ark itself doesn't actually fall apart when people are in it.
And the animatronic lion doesn't kill anyone.
Right, exactly. So apparently Kentucky has their top tourism official has said that they are required that since the Ark encounter is requiring a religious test for potential hires, it would be against both state and federal hiring laws and so they're preliminarily withholding those tax breaks.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're looking into it, but as of right now, they're basically saying, no.
You know, you can't say no atheists. You can tell that atheist that, part of their job is being, I love God. They have a script they have to say.
Maybe.
I bet you could. If they were, have a blessed day could be what they have to say when they, hand change over from the register. Have a blessed day.
Uh-huh.
You could probably get away with that.
Have a blessed day. I don't believe in God. Have a blessed day. I don't believe in God. Jesus isn't real. Have a blessed day.
It'll be fun to watch and see how that plays out.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you got?
Well, Bill Maher.
Oh dear.
You may or may not have heard.
A little bit of hot water for that man.
He opened his mouth about Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah.
He got in some trouble.
He got himself into a little hot water.
Now this time is different because what he did. I saw this. What he got himself in trouble for was basically attacking liberals. Was saying, you know what, the liberals are doing this wrong. You're liberaling wrong.
Yeah. Well, the one that I'm thinking of is he starts off with this picture of looks like probably a teenage kid with no shirt on, right? He's like he's humping a statue of Jesus. He makes it look like Jesus is filleting him.
Did we not report on this?
I don't think we did.
Oh, we should have.
Yeah.
It was a story that came across my desk and we just never got to it, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, he's got Jesus's little crotch up in his junk. And
he's got his junk in Jesus's face.
That's what we have.
Yes.
Yeah. Not Jesus's crotch.
No.
Jesus' crotch doesn't have anything to do with this.
No, Jesus is kneeling down.
And he's sort of that praying up to the sky Jesus, right?
Right.
Anyways. So Bill Maher uses this as a point to say, hey, you know what? This is an example of how our society, our system is superior. Which it's kind of a dicey thing to say. It makes you feel a little weird, but I kind of have to agree with. Nothing's really going to come of this except for people wringing their hands and shouting about it.
Well, the kid did it in Pennsylvania, and there is a law that says that you can't desecrate venerated objects. So the kid was being threatened with like jail time and stuff, but probably nothing's going to happen. Right.
Nobody's going to get killed.
Certainly, no one's going to get killed. That law is dubious at best anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, but he's sort of using this as an example of that, right? And saying, if he wanted to be, if he really wanted to make a statement, I think he says something like that. He could have done the same thing to a statue of Muhammad.
Right.
And then he's like, oh wait, there are no statues of Muhammad.
Because
why? Because blah blah blah. And he goes down this little rabbit hole of whatever. But anyways, so that's where it starts. And how does it get to Ben Affleck telling him
the next
because
week,
the clip that I saw was just that one thing.
Right. So he got in trouble for that. The next week, he had Sam Harris on the show. And Ben Affleck was also one of the panelists. He has the three panelists, and then he has a guest.
Right.
And Harris was the guest, he and Harris both went off on Islam being, more dangerous than other religions.
Right.
And Affleck flipped out. He was mad as hell, and he called them racist for it and blah blah blah.
Right.
And and Maher was like, it's so not racist, this is about Islam, this is about the religion. And other people were calling them out, saying that they were taking the 1 point whatever billion people of Islam to task for something that this tiniest percentage of them do. And I think they made good points. Harris and Maher both obviously have studied this a lot, probably Harris more than Maher.
Right.
But they cited polls that have been done where even, some 70 some odd % of British Muslims think that the Danish cartoonist who did a cartoon of Muhammad should be jailed or should be prosecuted.
Right.
Which is just not how free society works.
Right.
So, and then, some outrageous number of Egyptian Muslims who were polled believed that death was a valid punishment for leaving the faith and stuff.
Yeah.
And their point was, this is a different animal than the other Abrahamic religions that we're seeing, than any religion right now.
Right.
And then there was a big snafu, a big kerfuffle because I think CNN or somebody had Reza Aslan on talking about it, and he said that it was absurd what they were saying. So there's just been a lot of back and forth about that.
Yeah, it's been going nuts out there.
Yep.
So anyways,
but I think if anything, the point that Maher and Harris have made their main point was that in this, even among other liberals, you're not allowed to criticize Islam.
Which is really, really, I mean, it's weird to me because clearly I'm in a place where I don't know how to make it all work in my head.
Right.
Because Islam clearly has serious problems within its ranks.
Yeah. It's got institutionalized misogyny.
Yeah.
On a level that no other religion really has, although in fundamentalism you see it in both Judaism and Christianity.
Sure.
But Islam it's fairly ingrained.
Yeah.
It's also got problems with ideas like apostasy can have a death sentence, which just played out in Iran. There was a man who was just hung in Iran, hanged, because he said that the prophet Jonah, the story of Jonah was a metaphor.
Oh boy.
Essentially is all he said, but quote unquote interpreting the Quran is not allowed, and they killed him. So it's like, yeah, that's a slightly different animal than we're all really mad at you. If countries are killing people based on Islamic infractions, that's not a social infraction. That's a religious infraction.
Right. And they're using the teachings of the religion and its religious books to back it up.
Yeah. Not all of the countries that are majority Muslim do that, as people are quick to point out.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Some of the countries do.
Yeah.
And those countries foment the kind of people that fly planes into buildings.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
We have to be able to have the conversation.
We have to be able to
That's
have the
problem.
conversation. It is dicey. I do think that people need to be careful in how they phrase things, just for the sake of being able to have a discussion, not because of just because if you want to keep having the discussion and you don't want to be shouted down, you gotta be smart about how you bring these topics up. Now, it's great that Bill Maher is actually bringing it up because there's actually a discussion happening.
Yeah,
people are actually talking about it.
Yeah,
and by talking about it, you work through it and figure out where you. Hopefully, you figure out where you stand,
and hopefully you listen to everybody's side of things.
Yeah.
Hopefully you actually pay attention to what everybody's saying. Even Ben Affleck, sure. Not my favorite actor, but a decent director. And I don't know why he has anything to say about Islam and stuff, but I don't know why I have anything to say about it. Yeah. I'm an actor.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, he's at least a celebrity.
Yeah. Are you saying I'm not a celebrity? I have a weekly
You're no
podcast.
Ben Affleck.
That's the truth. Although he and I were born on the same day.
What?
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yep.
You've got a lot in common with him.
Right?
Anyways, I thought it was worth bringing up.
Yeah, that's it's craziness. Go out there and watch all of the clips. They're available everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally the whole internet has them on it.
Well, not everywhere. There have been some good old copyright infringement people from HBO probably. Shit's getting I found there were a lot of dead links.
Okay, well I saw it all over the place, so hopefully you'll find it.
Right.
You don't have to look too hard. I'm going to jump back to, we're going to be SCOTUS heavy today. The Supreme Court is all over the place with us today. But this one I found so fucking alarming that you and I have been baffled by some of the Supreme Court's stuff lately. The whole Greece versus Galloway decision in which the town of Greece, New York, was allowed to keep just preferring Christian prayer over and so like that just baffled me. And they don't. It's been hard to get a bead on why things have been going the way they've been going. Mm-hmm. Well, I got news for you. Here's why, at least part of why. Scalia recently, Justice Scalia. I don't know. I want to say his name with Fat bees and whatever. Because the man looks like he's like been badly stuffed. Is what he looks like. He's got that kind of a chubby face. He's
just waiting for the spaghetti to fall.
He's
out.
just lumpy. Yeah,
Blah,
yeah,
out of his
exactly.
cheeks.
Like
Just
he's storing food. Is what his face looks like. Anyway. Food storage facility and Justice Antonin Scalia. Recently, he spoke to Colorado Christian University, and he said, quote, I think the main fight is to dissuade Americans from what the secularists are trying to persuade them to be true, that the separation of church and state means the government cannot favor religion over non-religion. He thinks it's totally okay to do that. His belief is that the separation of church and state just means that the government can't favor one religion over another. But God. Totally okay to favor, he said, he was talking about God. He says, we do him honor in our Pledge of Allegiance, in all our public ceremonies. There's nothing wrong with that. It is in the best of American traditions, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I think we have to fight that tendency of the secularists to impose it on all of us through the Constitution.
Wow. So, Constitution be damned, we have some fine traditions. Is that...
No, he's saying that what the Constitution says is that...
he argues that it's not about... It's about the establishment of a state religion.
You can't favor one religion over another, but you can sure as hell favor religion over non-religion. That's totally constitutional. He says that you could enact by statute laws that say that you can't do that. But he says to say that that's what's in the Constitution or to say that that's what the Constitution requires is utterly absurd. Utterly absurd. I can't even hear if that worked because my headphones were rattling on my head. I was trying to get as jowly as I could on that. So, and he claims that he's in a gargantuan task of trying to get back to this originality of the Constitution point of view.
Oh, so important.
He says it's a long uphill fight to get back to original orthodoxy. We have two, quote, originalists on the Supreme Court, he said, referring to Justice Dipshit Thomas. That's something, he says, but I feel like Frodo will get clobbered in the end, but it's worth it.
Wait, what?
He's comparing the climb of getting back to originalist constitutionalism to the saga of Frodo Baggins in Lord of the Rings.
He knows that is just a work of fiction, right?
I don't know that I don't know what he knows. I assume he knows that. How does he picture himself as Frodo and not as like one of the trolls or whatever?
Definitely one of the larger munchkins, not one of the.
That man is no hobbit.
That's what they're called, not munchkins.
Right.
I got it all confused.
You did get it all confused. Oh, the nerds are going to be so furious with you. Anyway, if you need to comment on any of this or, take me to task for calling the dipshits on our Supreme Court dipshits, you may do so. You can write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you could leave us a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Or you can go to the Facebook page or the Twitters, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Or at TGIAtheist on Twitter.
Yep.
By the way, if you guys go to the Facebook page, apparently we're having trouble. The problem is that what Facebook does is it limits what it shows you on your feed from us
until
you start interacting with it.
Yeah.
So if you want to get our feed, we're ironing out what we show you. I think we're going to scale back a little bit because we might have been getting a little heavy on what we were putting out there. But interact with it. Like some things.
Liking is so easy.
Comment
Just
on
like it.
one or two things. If Mackenzie puts a question out there, just answer the question. That kind of thing will just help us out a lot. It'll help.
Pushes it forward and out to other people's feeds.
And then you get to see it too, because most of the stuff, a lot of people aren't even seeing it because they're not interacting.
Facebook is lame that way.
Facebook is really lame. What they're trying to do is force us to pay to push stuff out to your feeds.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to avoid doing.
We're not going to do that, actually.
So
we refuse.
So we need your help with it. Anyway.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
We want to get right to your email. Pat, this first one is from Hope, who says, my sister wants to throw a Halloween party for the children in our family, but I'm a Christian woman and want to continue to instill these values in my children and grandchild, so I don't let them participate in trick-or-treating or costumes. My family feels like I'm stopping my kids' fun. Will it be wrong to let them go to the party and buy them costumes and just don't let them trick-or-treat? Please help, because I don't want to see them upset.
All right, Halloween is a festival for demonic spirits. The whole idea of trick-or-treating, the Druids would go to somebody's house and ask for money, and if they didn't get money, they'd kill one of their sheep. I mean, that was the trick, so I mean, it was serious stuff. And it was also all this business about goblins and jack-o'-lanterns and all that all comes out of demonic rituals of the Druids and the people who lived in England at that particular time. I think churches can have Halloween parties, you can bob for apples and do stuff like that, and turn it into a Christian festival, and that's what we ought to do. We need to redeem these days, but that day was given over to satanic thing.
Well.
Yeah.
And some great music that came in there.
Very nice. Very lovely.
It's demonic.
Demonic, yeah. I mean,
a festival of demons.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say I'm 90% sure he's absolutely wrong about the origin of trick-or-treating.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was not a pagan thing at all. It started like in...
Sheep were not killed?
Sheep
as a trick?
Sheep may have been killed. But, yeah, I mean, there was like an All Souls Day and stuff, but no, I'm pretty sure that is nowhere near...
And
how it originated.
Who cares if it was?
Right.
We feel no connection
to that.
The phrase trick or treat, we're not putting any meaning into it like that.
Right.
Nobody's thinking that when they're out trick or treating or dressing up as Superman.
No, the earliest okay, so I'm on Wikipedia right now. The earliest known use in print of the term trick or treat appears in 1927.
The Druids
of 1927 of the 20s. Those flapper Druids. Let me tell you something.
Yeah,
they were trouble. But no, it was like kids. It was kids going around saying, "Give us a treat, or we'll like egg your house."
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Demonic.
It was demon children requesting
it's a festival for demons.
Yeah.
Oh, so scary.
God, you know what? These guys are going to paint themselves into, like, out of every fun thing, and no one's going to want to be with them anymore. These evangelicals.
Yeah, they'll probably find a way to paint themselves out of Christmas.
That would
Something
be amazing.
That actually legitimately has pagan roots.
Right, yeah.
Like, Christmas is full of pagan shit. And then yet they're so happy to put a tree in the house because, well, you're not going to... I mean, it's about Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that there are some pagan roots to Halloween as well, but
I'm sure
not the trick-or-treating part.
But why one pagan thing is bad and the other pagan thing is good?
Well,
they didn't attach the right Jesus thing to it,
right? I mean, this is a tradition that's similar to Mardi Gras in the sense that it's like the day before a thing. So Mardi Gras precedes Ash Wednesday, and then everybody has to go into Lent.
Right.
Halloween precedes All Saints Day or All Hallows Day.
Right.
And then and that's supposed to be, so it's like you're supposed to celebrate, sort of play around with the concept of evil before you celebrate the saints or something like that. Right. It's all just, I mean, but the truth is, Fucking let your kids dress up and go get some candy.
Yeah.
You morons. Anyway, we have some correspondence from some folks.
We do.
So
indeed, yes.
should we start with why don't you start with a voicemail just
We
for
never
fun?
do that.
We should start with that.
All right. This is in response to let's see. There was some question that came up about somebody I think didn't want to resign from the LDS Church because they were concerned that they might lose their degree from Brigham Young University.
Correct.
And so this is a listener who has some experience in the field and chimes in on that topic.
Hi, guys. My name is Dan also. I'm calling from Southern California. I was calling because in the last couple episodes, the drunk episodes and several others, there seemed to be some issues related to the world of higher education that I felt needed to be addressed. First of all, in the drunken episode, and by the way, I thoroughly enjoyed it, there seemed to be some confusion about the system of higher education in the state of California, conflation of the various systems, if you will. In fact, there are 3 separate and independent systems of higher education in the state of California. The University of California consisting of 10 universities, the California State University system consisting of 23 universities, and the California Community Colleges with 112 colleges throughout the state. That being said, the other issue I wanted to talk about was the concern on the part of some of your listeners about the possibility or the potential of Brigham Young University rescinding degrees because the individual had resigned from the church. I will tell you that I have spent the better part of my career, close to 30 years, working as a records officer in colleges and universities in a variety of contexts, and I have never heard of anything like that happening. As far as I know, the only basis for a university to rescind a degree is if they discover after it's been awarded that the requirements for that degree have not been met, and that would usually be either an error on the part of the university or possibly a commission of fraud on the part of the student in misrepresenting completed courses, probably in the case of a transfer of unit from another institution. That being said, there may be some fine print in the enrollment of places like BYU that give the university the authority to rescind the degree for reasons other than that. But I would think that they would be on very thin legal ice if they did that. It would be a really interesting court case to have that tested when the student had fulfilled all the requirements for the degree and the degree had been awarded. In essence, the college catalog or the university bulletin represents a written contract between the institution and the student. And so if the student meets the terms of their end of the contract, then the university is obligated to grant the degree. So I don't know if this will be of any help to any of your listeners, but in my experience, I don't see any reason for them to be concerned about their degree being rescinded. Hope this helps, and I thoroughly enjoy the podcast. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Good information. It prompted us to do a little bit more research.
Yeah, well, because there's that caveat, right? Of maybe in the fine print somewhere. And so we found a thing on BYU.edu's website. They do board questions, and
not questions about when you're bored,
which
would be another thing.
Yeah, totally different. So here's a question. What are the requirements for BYU to rescind a bachelor's degree that has been awarded? Blah, 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 blah. What about disaffiliation or disaffection from the church after it has been awarded? And this person responds back, I don't believe that this is like an official response, but it's something that is up on their website. And it seems to be fairly well looked through and researched and whatnot. And the general sense of the whole thing after going through everything is that it seems like that they would probably, unless you're out there actively harming the church or BYU in some way, they're probably
even then,
it seems unlikely, but that would be probably the only thing that they might be able to.
But even
come
then,
back on.
I think that the caller is right. They would be on such shaky legal ground that they would never even attempt it.
Right.
Plus, the PR would just be terrible for them and stuff.
And
the other thing is that the one mention of this, the one thing that we could cite, the one example of this that we could cite, turns out to be a little less complicated or a little more complicated than we thought it was. My understanding had been that this man who had made these pinup calendars of
the Mormon missionaries,
or
return missionaries,
of returned missionaries,
handsome return missionaries,
very, very attractive return missionaries,
shirtless.
He had been
posed, beautiful men.
It had been my understanding that BYU had rescinded his degree. It turns out to be a little more complicated than that. He had completed his requirements. He had walked with his graduating class, but did not have the diploma in hand. And BYU said, "You're not in compliance with our honor code, so you've been taken off of the list of graduates."
Oh my God!
I think that the sense is that once you have the diploma in hand, you're safe.
Right.
You've made it.
Right.
You're through the gate. But until you got that bad boy in your sweaty mitts,
Yeah.
you run the risk of falling afoul.
Ugh, God, what
of that.
assholes!
Yeah.
What serious assholes!
Yeah, that was a bit of
dick move on the part of BYU.
Wild assholery, absolutely.
Yeah, but
All
as
right.
far as like people who have written in or called in with this concern about our whole push to like resign from your church,
Right.
You're probably fine, folks.
You're fine.
Yeah,
Resign.
get out of it. Get out.
That's our new rhymey slogan. You're fine.
fine.
Resign.
Get out of here.
You're fine.
Get out of there.
You're resigned. Get out of there. All right. I'm going to give an email. Do an email. We don't want our show to turn into the "Let's Talk About Circumcision" show, but we did get we got one voicemail. We're probably not going to play the voicemail. Is that what we decided?
I decided not to play
because we've got other things. We got a lot of
because
info.
we don't want it to be the circumcision show.
Right. We've got a lot of feedback about our discussion on circumcision. One of them was from a fella named James, and he just went through a few. He's in the medical field. He just went through a few points. I'm going to really abbreviate his long and well worded email. A few of the points that he made about it were that he says the notion that it doesn't seriously diminish sexual pleasure a man experiences is flat out wrong. He says, in fact, it's not even rare for a man to lose all sensation in some or all of his penis after circumcision. Wow. That's terrifying. He says infant circumcision is not risk-free. In addition to being unnecessary, there's a very real risk of hemorrhage and infection, both of which can lead to and have led to, on many occasions, the death of the child. That's terrifying as well. Apparently it's scary. He says anesthesia is becoming slightly more common, but is but is not the standard. Topical and injected anesthetics have become more common in modern times and are an improvement over the, quote, comfortable padded chairs. I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know what that's a reference to.
Was that for the doctor?
Yes. Yes.
Because I can't imagine putting an infant,
you have no idea,
a newborn, into a padded chair.
You have no idea how much better a circumcisor feels with lumbar support. And apparently sugar-laced pacifiers were once thought to offset the pain. Okay. But it says that chemically interfering with the nervous function of an infant poses clinically significant risks. Anyway, look into it. There are lots of websites out there if you're concerned. If you have a boy on the way and you want to know what to do, that's just some points to consider.
I will say this about the voicemail, and it was on the other end of the life spectrum, and
right.
It was from somebody who was an ER tech talking about some of the complications he saw with older men and uncircumcised penises that would come through.
He had said
And
something
so-
about some.
Yeah, this is not a
Apparently, old dudes are gross and don't clean their dicks.
yeah. Apparently, there's something about that.
So
Anyways,
cut that out.
We're not playing it just because again we're trying not to go down this whole circumcision. We don't want it to be another episode about circumcision.
Right.
So, but anyways, it's
all very weird.
it's all terribly complicated. Public health officials saying that a circumcised penis, reduces the odds of contracting HIV
or of spreading HIV.
or of spreading HIV.
Right. So
I think it's contracting.
really,
I thought.
Well,
anyways,
and
the
spreading.
spread,
yeah.
the general spread of HIV.
So more. If there's going to be a lot of nasty, unprotected sex happening, then circumcision may help protect people against that. Who knows?
So again, there's a lot of moving parts.
A lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have you.
We want to leave it there.
Yeah.
If you feel compelled to message us about it,
It better be something new. Better be something we haven't said.
and the threshold for getting your comments onto the show at this point is pretty high.
Yeah. Do we have another voicemail?
We do. This is a caller chiming in about something that we said about prayer. I think you said something about prayer in last episode or a couple episodes ago, and he's chiming in on that.
Hey, I was listening to the YTGIA episode, and I heard one of you say that it's a logical fallacy to intercede if God is omnipotent. I'm from a charismatic background, or it was, and I was taught that God limits himself to work through a representation on earth. There's a verse that talks about Jesus being the perfect intercessor, and the church that I was from told us that God limits himself in order to work through an intercessor, just like Jesus took on flesh and intercedes on our behalf, and we're the current representation of Christ on the earth. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm rambling. But yeah, I don't know. I was curious. I'm not sure how common that doctrine is in the church at large, but I'm sure they all have their own explanation, and I'd be curious as to what your rationale or your opinion on that rationale is. So, all right. Thanks for the podcast.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, to make it all work, you got to come up with something.
You got to come up with something. I mean, so the point that I had made, just to be clear, was that intercessionary prayer is ridiculous because if God has a plan and God is omnipotent, then you're not going to be able to dissuade an omnipotent being from their plan.
Which is why you leave it to an intercessory.
An intercessionary or whatever.
Intercessionary.
Yeah. An intercessor.
Is that what it is?
I don't know what he said.
But
we were listening, I promise. We were listening to the content and not the actual
that word
one
kind
word.
of
It's a fascinating concept. Apparently, if part of God's plan is to limit himself,
yeah.
Why the fuck would that need to be part of the plan? That does, but apparently
he's infinite in his limitability.
Forget
he's
like
unlimitable.
Can God build a rock that he cannot lift? He can if he imposes that limit on himself, I suppose.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Oh my God!
And then Jesus comes along, and he's an intermediary,
right? I feel like you have to break your brain to make any of this shit work,
and that's the whole point.
Your whole brain has to be broken. It's interesting that this happened because the email has come up with another logical syllogism.
Okay.
For why you shouldn't believe in the workings of prayer.
Fantastic.
This is from a person. Oh shoot! I didn't get his name. God damn it,
Dan.
It's from.
Come on,
Daniel.
You forgot Daniel.
We get a lot of emails. I was sorting through a lot this morning. It's from. I'm going to call him Dan.
Okay.
It's a day of Dan's today. one of our
The day of
callers.
the Dans.
Yes. Anyway, Dan says, in your last episode, you said that people should be able to figure out that prayer doesn't work with 15 minutes of thinking. I think I can cut that down to less than a minute with some logical programming language like simplification. If, he says, prayers in Africa are equal to prayers in America, and science in America is greater than science in Africa,
Okay.
and Ebola in America is less than Ebola in Africa, then science is greater than prayers. Do you see what he's doing there?
Oh my goodness.
He's saying if our medical system
Yeah.
can battle Ebola
Yeah.
and theirs can't,
Yeah.
but they're praying just as hard as we pray here,
Right.
then science, then that shows that, and they have a greater problem than we have.
Interesting.
It's
That's
not
fun. That's
perfect,
fun.
but
That's
it's
fun.
cute. It's
Yeah.
cute.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
And
what does the program do?
don't press run on that program. That's not.
If it has a go to 10 and just starts repeating itself.
Yes,
then
exactly.
I like that.
Dan also sent us a donation, so I wanted to thank him for that.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
We also had a few other donors, including Brad, who said whose donation came with the message: "Thanks for expanding my universe, Frank and Dan. I'm on a fixed income, but will support you as I feel I can.
Oh,
Everything
fantastic,
helps, Brad.
Brad.
We really
thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Also, Audrey has given us a one-time contribution, and wanted and she just said, "Continue being awesome. Love you guys." Thank you all of you for your donations. If you, dear listener, would like to join them in their proud support of our show, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the support tab.
Indeed. All right.
So
Gays and marriage.
now you're just whispering. You stopped singing.
Because I don't have a good singing voice, so I'll slowly fade away.
Okay. No, stop whispering the song. So a big thing happened. I'm sure some of you may have gotten wind of it, in the sense that like everybody flipped the fuck out,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court of these United States has declined to hear the cases of several district appellate courts, which means that gay marriage is now legal in Utah.
Yeah.
And many
and
other
Oklahoma,
states.
and Virginia,
Right.
and Wisconsin, and someplace else.
A whole bunch of now.
Well,
it's like,
but then
it's like
those were the states that had sort of the immediate
right.
thing going on, but it should spread to the rest of the districts. that are
Yeah,
represented by
exactly.
those
So
courts.
that'll affect then Colorado and a bunch of other things,
Yeah.
and it
spreads
It's spreading fast,
like Ebola.
like a rash.
Oh, I was thinking like Ebola.
Yeah, like Ebola.
Yeah, like a plague, like a
Like-
modern day plague.
Yeah, homo marriage is a plague on the United States of America.
Oh damn,
It is.
we're doomed.
I think we are doomed. I think that there's doom happening to us. It is kind of remarkable, not how everybody thought it was going to go down. By the way,
Yeah.
BT dubs.
Ooh.
Lots of folks were expecting them. I think most commentators were expecting that it was going to be one that was taken up by the
Yeah.
court.
Yeah.
Had it been taken up by the court, it would be a lot longer before anything was legal anywhere.
Right. But whatever they decided would have been.
Would have taken effect nationwide.
Yeah, exactly.
Would have been fairly instant.
It's very interesting that they're letting this just sort of play out.
Well, I tell you what, man.
Like, it's really interesting.
Well, the thing is, so basically, by them not taking it, what the message that they have essentially sent is that the lower courts got it right, and they agree with those, and they have no reason to review those decisions.
What happens if a lower court goes the other way?
Well, that is an issue. But now that's incredibly unlikely because basically these lower court decisions that have happened in, what was it, 4 different districts? 3 or 4 different districts. Now those are precedent
Right.
For any other suits, and that precedent has to hold because the Supreme Court
Ignored it.
won't take it up.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Now, it's interesting. I learned a little bit about how the Supreme Court works due to this, because what I learned was that it only takes, of the 9 Supreme Court justices, it only takes 4 to say, yes, we're going to take it.
Right.
It takes 5 to win a case,
Right.
but it takes 4 for them to accept a case. Now, I think that the liberal judges, this is my guess, backed off of this because they were worried about the makeup of the court, and that there was a possibility that they would lose.
Right. But you still only need 4, and you've got 4 quack job conservatives.
You've got 5 conservatives, 1 who's sort of a swing.
Right.
So you're right. 4, but I think that they didn't want to take it either. The problem is
They don't want to touch it.
Right.
It's too hot to handle.
It is too hot to handle. It is interesting. I think that...
Well, I mean, these are not dumb people. These are not uninformed people. These are not people who that don't watch where the country is going.
Right.
And maybe they don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just like, you know what? That's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's going this way. We don't want our stamp on it. And it's sort of the least contentious and the least tumultuous thing to do. Let it slowly work its way through the country.
Yeah.
Right? I cannot imagine that people in Oklahoma are jumping up and down about it, much like here, but I didn't hear boo.
Right.
The governor, Gary Herbert.
Yeah, our governor.
Right.
Yeah.
Douchebag McGee himself.
And he is.
Was just like, well, the courts have spoken.
Right.
And it's the law of the land.
No, there was another governor. Who was the other governor? Who was like, fuck that! This is the worst thing that's ever happened! Blah, blah, blah. It was a governor of like it was a more easterly state and more southerly state than ours. They weren't in the south. I don't remember what state it was, but one governor flipped the fuck out about it and was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to anybody and blah, blah, blah. But
it's now required. I have to get married to a man.
Yeah, exactly. Damn it.
I don't know what this world is coming to.
Actually, I think that was a female governor that did the flipping out, but I can't find it currently. So.
Oh, female governor. Was it Oklahoma?
It might have been Oklahoma. I don't know. I don't know.
Daniel.
Well, I didn't have that one pulled up. I forgot about it until the moment that we were talking about it.
I was actually quite proud of Gary Herbert in that one moment of just being like, okay, we've spent enough money, and I mean, I do think that was the sentiment in Utah.
Right.
I think we saw that in a poll, right, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Where the majority of the people were like, just stop spending the money on this thing.
Well,
no matter how they like politically fell and what their opinion about gay marriage was, they were like, no, stop spending the state's money to fight this case.
I don't know. I think a lot of ideologues were ready to spend whatever it took.
Well, I'm sure there were plenty of those, but I seem to recall that there was some poll of Utahns at large who were just like, who were a pretty fiscally conservative bunch.
Right.
Who on sort of those grounds were saying, you know what? No.
Yeah. I think one of the more prescient things that happened, and this was so one of the things that's interesting and fascinating about this for us here in Utah, because the Utah case that was being submitted, that went to the district court and then the appeals court, which is called Kitchen versus Herbert, was sort of pending. It was the one that everybody sort of expected the SCOTUS to take up because it had all of the elements. It had a state that was willing to defend their side of it, which some of the states weren't. It had a series of different ideas, including, it had 2 gay men who wanted to do it. It had an adoption-y thing. It had all of these different elements, I think. And so it seemed perfect for them to take up. And of course, they could have taken up multiple things. It's interesting also because this comes right after Mormon General Conference weekend.
Oh.
And Mormon General Conference happens twice a year. We've talked about it before. There are videos of me goofing at it on our YouTube channel. And so Mormon General Conference is a time. Lately, it's just been a time for Mormon general authorities, the prophet of the church the quorum of the 12, and all of these general authorities to get up lately and just say why all of the detractors are wrong. Basically, like confront issues because there's been a lot of issues. Well, this particular general conference, I think it was Dallin H. Oaks.
That's what I heard.
Who's a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, had a bunch of shit to say about gays and about the gay marriage thing. But what I heard, I mean, a lot of people were pissed off because he called proponents of gay marriage adversaries. And that's kind of, in Mormon speak, that's code for Satan.
The devils.
He's the adversary. So I mean, there was a lot of that, but he also said we have to be loving to these people. They're still people, and he advocated not being mean to gay people, which is nice. Don't be mean.
Don't be.
But he also hinted at this might not go our way.
Oh.
There was a sniff of that in his talk that I read.
Oh, were they privy?
Here's what I think. I think that may be the case. I think that some Mormon might be clerking for one of the justices and might have smelled the direction that it was going to go and just been like, just sent word up the chain. This may not go our way. Just so you know, this is not gonna happen.
The phrase to use is, "It may not go our way."
Right. Yeah, exactly. Prep them because some shit's about to fly.
So really just being a good prophet is just having a good source. I mean, really.
Well, hell.
Normally your source is supposed to be, the man upstairs.
Right.
But hey, if you got a guy in DC at the court, willing to tell you a little secret.
I'll tell you what, it would not surprise me. I know that, for instance, I personally know someone who was a clerk for Justice Thomas for a while.
Thomas.
Yeah, exactly.
Boy, that would be a bummer. You open the letter that's like, "You've been assigned to."
No, he loved it.
Oh, God.
He loved that guy. He's super conservative. He loved working for Justice Thomas. He even, at one point, I was harping on Thomas for not participating in the oral arguments, which he never, ever, ever does.
Right.
Matter of fact, the one time I actually went to a session of the Supreme Court, Justice Thomas was asleep. Anyway, so I called Thomas out on that and said, sort of tongue-in-cheek, just said that it was tantamount to treason. I mean, we give 9 people this job, and he can't be bothered to participate in one of it.
Yeah,
it's fine. And I get it that he thinks that he can just read all of the briefs and get everything that he needs to know from all of that.
Yeah,
but fucking participate.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're in the room. You're required to be in the room.
Yeah.
Why not listen?
Yeah.
Why not pay attention?
He needed a nap. He's sleepy.
He is a sleepy man.
He stays up late reading the briefs, and then he sleeps through.
Little sleepy.
Oh.
Shh, everybody. Justice Thomas is sleeping.
Let's put a pew on his coat.
Anyway.
Wasn't that the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, anyway.
Gross. I can't even believe I said it. That's so...
Anyway,
so dirty.
It is interesting now, though. We'll have to see how this plays out with all of the religious-y people around the country, as gay marriage is now legal in the majority of the United States.
Yes. Isn't it
it's like 30 states.
30 states, but that means that 2/3 of the population, right?
Yeah.
Lives in a jurisdiction where gay marriage is legal.
Right. And legally recognized. Yeah. And so that's it's the issue's settled largely. I think everybody fully expects that it's going to be nationwide very soon.
I wonder how soon.
Well, there are pending legal lawsuits in every state now.
Wow.
So it probably will happen quite quickly.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so churches are starting to like come out with their statements on it. The Mormon Church said they announced that as far as the civil law is concerned, the courts have spoken. So they accept that that is the case and that it is done and done here. I got into it. I in my little sort of reverie, my little Schadenfreude reverie, went on to some of the local news sites that are the more conservative news sites, like the Deseret News here,
Sure.
and
Okay.
the and KSL, which is a church-owned news site. News. They do mostly. They have a TV and a radio, station
And a website.
and how. And I was shocked at how little ranting and screaming there was coming from the conservative side.
Because they were, yeah.
It was clear that the wind was completely out of their sails. Like, a few of them got on to be like, it's a travesty, but mostly it was just like liberal people jumping on and being like, hooray! Even on those sites. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I know. It's...
You'd be amazed at how many constitutional scholars there are, though.
Oh,
Boy,
really?
suddenly everybody's coming out of the woodwork. Well, the Constitution says that this is a states' rights issue, and they can't, one activist judge can't impose this on the whole state, and blurg, blurg, blurg. Yeah, everybody's suddenly a constitutional scholar because Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck have told them
Sean Hannity.
what the actual Constitution is really saying.
Gross.
But in the end, no, it's done. You can get married here, Frank. Just find yourself a man.
That's
That's the trick.
That is the trick. I was going to say it's the first step. It's
the most important step.
yeah.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
But there you go.
All right. Well,
If you have anything you need to say about the gays getting married or
maybe,
whatever,
maybe a nice young man. I don't know.
or if you know someone that Frank needs to meet,
No.
do not do that. Do not start sending Frank. He's got Grindr. It'll be fine. Oh, by the way, I have to tell this story because I went into the Apple store. Sorry, everybody, but you need to hear this story. I went into the Apple store the other day.
And your grinder was just going off in your pocket.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. I was like, boys,
it
settle.
always-
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Apple store.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello.
They're-
Half the staff and
No.
2/3 of the.
So I was having trouble with my battery not lasting as long as it used to and whatever. And so they have a thing where they pull it up and suddenly they pull up what's using your battery the most in terms of what apps are using your battery the most. And I was like, well, and for me it was like Facebook.
What naughty little.
But it was not. It was nothing for me. It was no big deal for me.
That's really boring.
But I suddenly felt like this is a little bit of an invasion of my privacy here, and I was like, I'll bet you see some very fascinating apps pop up. And she goes, no, you have to know this. And because we had been joking around a lot, she was like, you wouldn't believe how many times Grindr pops up right next to LDS Living. For those of you uninformed, Grindr is a gay sort of hookup site app.
Hookup site.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's for.
It's for finding sex now.
Get your grind on.
It's literally who's right near you right now looking for sex.
with a dick pic.
Right.
Yeah.
And LDS Living is all about Jesus and Joseph Smith and whatever. It was that right there. Oh, I almost lost my shit. I mean, it's obviously true. But the thing is, they need to start saying, hey, do you mind if I run a program that will tell me what of your apps you're using your time on? Because they did not say that to me. I mean, for me, there was nothing embarrassing.
Right.
But I can imagine some people going, anyway, it's funny.
Well, yeah. All right. That's awesome.
Anyway,
Okay.
if you have anything to say about any of this, please don't hesitate to write to us. That's podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or leaves a voicemail at 424-666-8442.
Go to that Facebook page, y'all.
Woohoo!
Facebook.com/TGIAtheist. We are currently also in the process. I'm going to make this announcement. We are in the process of making a group. It is a closed group. It is not a secret group, but it is a closed group
On Facebook.
That you can join. You have to ask us to let you in. We will check you out, and if we like what we, if you don't seem like you're a Christian troll or a someone who's going to post like ads for selling jeans or whatever, we'll let you in.
Right.
And then you can post things, and nobody outside of that group will be able to see, so you can vent your frustrations with religion or whatever. The group is called the TGIA Members Only Lounge. We made sure not to include the word atheist in it.
Right.
So theoretically, hopefully, even if you're not out as atheist on Facebook, you can join this group safely. And we won't have anything about it being atheist. It'll just say Frank and Dan. And
what happens in the Members Only Lounge stays in the Members Only Lounge, correct?
That is correct.
You post something there, it's not going to magically show up on your feed.
Nobody else can see it. If you comment on something, nobody else will be able to see that. It is a closed group. So
I think that's great.
So if we want you to participate on our open page, that's the main thing that we want.
Yeah.
But if you can't, we want there to also be a place where you can go.
Yeah. Great idea.
There you go.
Awesome idea. All right. Well, thanks to Mackenzie for all of her help on the Facebook.
Right. She's going to be helping with the new group and everything. So thanks so much for that, Mackenzie. And thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of your fine music.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.